Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Championship Series European Challenger. I'm Nathanius, joined by Katz, as we get ready to go into our winners match. How are you doing, Paolo?
I'm doing nice.
Very nice. Excellent to hear. You know, I always like to add a little flavor. We're doing European now, so I'll bring out my bad accents. When we go to America, I'll bring out the deep, gravelly voice. It's like we've got two completely separate shows for our Challenger regions here.
Yeah,
really.
So you better stick around. It's been a great set of games so far.
Yeah.
Nail biters all around. Mana giving Harstem a fight of his life. Harstem could have been the first player eliminated. That's nuts.
Very scary. He was my pick to get out first. And before we get into our winners match, there are other great things happening in the world of StarCraft, such as the World Championship Series Challenger ANZ Finals.
Oi.
At the, it's Aussie, then you say.
You can just say oi.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, that's taking place on the 5th of May at noon. You can check that out. That'll be on the same channel you're watching right now, on this official StarCraft channel. It's taking place at Intel Extreme Masters Sydney 2018. I've never been to Australia. Have you been there?
I haven't. I am dead scared of koalas, actually.
Really?
No, man. Who's scared of koalas? Come on.
I was scared. I'm just scared of drop bears, man.
Those are nasty.
That was that one dream hack. Moonglade showed me a bunch of photos of them. Scarred me for life.
Yeah?
That's it.
Droppers. Google
You're never getting me over there.
Google them. But
Except on ladder. Yeah.
We have a couple of droppers over here.
Yes, it's going to be Elazer versus Stephano going up in the winner's match. Stephano looked pretty good in his series against Harstem.
He looked like old Stephano. He looked brilliant. He just was making all the right decisions. It was just wonderful. And you know what? Elazer's in Korea, I believe.
Is he?
I think so.
Is
he was
he,
last
though?
I checked.
Okay.
Is he not? You're making me doubt.
I don't have a geotag on him. I haven't been following him on my phone, you know, when I'm just chilling. So
I'm just saying, Stephano playing like this, Elazer, I think in Korea. If someone could confirm, that would be fantastic.
Because the European server advantage then is huge. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And he might as well be in Australia, really.
He might as well. And now, if he is in Korea, the strategy also for Stephano, someone as clever as Stephano can be, changes, right?
The aggressive tactics can do a lot better.
Exactly. So maybe against someone like Elazer, say if he is in Europe, Stephano is also clever enough to say, you're the faster player, you're the young buck here. Maybe I should sit back, go gasless, something like that. But seeing as there's a potential for, at least I think that Elazer might be in Korea, Stephano might adjust to that and go aggressive instead. All
right, well, we're loaded in to our first game of this best of 3. In the northwest position, we have the blue Zerg player. He is Stephano.
And on the bottom right-hand side, it's the red Zerg player. It is for Q-Lash, Elazer.
It's a great cheer.
Thank you.
It's a great cheer for Elazer. Stephano has like this weird thing, right? Because he retired, and he's like, I'm going to go back to school and everything. And everyone's like, oh no, we miss you. And then eventually he comes back and he's like, I'm back.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't really have any big results, and people are like, this wasn't what we were hoping for.
Yeah.
So now he gets into this weird space where he still has like these big upsets and these really good results occasionally, but not consistently.
Yep.
So at least that's what it's done to me. Is like when I look at this group, I'm like, Stephano's good, but like, is he get out of this group?
He's always going to be a wild card.
Yeah, you just can't predict what's going to happen. On any given day, he's going to play like his old self, or he's going to play like his new self.
Yeah, he could decide to practice a lot for a given event. If his mechanics are on point, like I said before, he's always going to be a threat because he is a clever player. He knows what he's doing. He understands the game.
Yeah, that's one of the things that makes him so good. And Elazer has built himself up as just being a very solid player all around. There's a reason why he took that Valencia trophy last year. There's a reason why he finished top 4 at BlizzCon last year. And there's a reason why a lot of people in Europe, if you're a Zerg player, you are cheering for Elazer and Serral. Those are your two boys. If you want to see a foreign Zerg player make it to the end, these are the two players that you're looking at the most right now. Scarlet had a good result earlier this year, but she's generally been having more difficulty in the actual WCS tournaments.
Scarlet's kind of like a Stephano, right? Where she had that era of greatness, where she was the undisputed best foreigner.
But she's very hot and cold.
Yes, and now she's there. She's up there again. But is she a contender with Serral, Elazer? Maybe not. Maybe not yet.
You're looking for the consistency first out of those players, but it's the X factor that makes players like Scarlet and Stephano still able to have those occasional crazy runs. But as far as ZvZ goes, Cats, we haven't Nothing really crazy to note, right? It's been mostly
As
mirror.
standard as it gets, just a hatch gas pool for both players. Gas before the pool is very important in CvC because it gives you the link speed early on. If you get caught without the link speed and your opponent has link speed, then they can choose to take whatever engagements they want. It's easier to defend your third like this. It's just a very, very standard play.
All right. Well, we have third bases going up for both players. Zergling speed is still on the way, and Baneling nests. So I think Stephano got his third just like, I don't know, like 10 seconds faster, but it doesn't seem like Elazer wants to press the issue. We do sometimes see one of the Zergs try to get out a bunch of lings and use that to shut down the third, which can be really nice. Of course, you're not building drones if you do that, so you have to be cautious about getting the most out of the larva investment that you make.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice to see how many links the players decide to make. Elazer just making, I believe, the 2 to Stephano's 4. The 4 is, you know, just safer in case your opponent makes 6 and tries to harass the third base. The 2 is just anticipating your opponent will either make 2 or 4. So, yeah, all around, Elazer gets away with an extra drone. Stephano, however, will have those extra links for the time being and will likely look to apply pressure. This is what we were talking about. If Elazer has a ping disadvantage, Link Baneling could favor Stephano, whereas normally I would put Elazer as the heavy favorite in this type of engagement.
Yeah, definitely makes things interesting to have that extra dynamic added onto it. Stephano's put out a good few more lings recently. He has a couple of Banelings defensively at home, though. So it doesn't look like he wants to press the issue too much. He's going to bring one of them out. The other two are starting to waddle forward.
Waddle, waddle.
Going to try to grab those? No, it's only 2 Zerglings. It's not really a lot.
Ling reinforcements promptly and quickly scouted by Elazer, who's still sneaking out drones, as Stephano does too. So the worker counts. Both of these players have been very good of mixing in workers with their Zerglings. A lot of people tend to commit to Zerglings. They're like, oh, I'm in Zergling production mode. But if you can actually just feign aggression to an extent, say, hey, I'm making Zerglings, and your opponent makes too many Zerglings, then you can just sit defensively while making some drones, sneaking out some drones, and then you have an economic lead. Both of these players being very mindful of this, both sneaking out drones.
Yeah. And the Lair's going to start up for Stephano. Both players are getting their Roach Warrens up. So that Zergling speed becomes an option. This one, cheeky link for Stephano, did get into the main. He actually should see that the Lair has just started for his opponent as well.
Yeah, he also confirms upon entrance that there is a Roach Warren and an Evo Chamber, so both players pretty much with mirror builds all the way through. Stephano, though, sneaking out the most rounds for the time being.
Yeah, so he's working the greed angle a little bit better here, you would say?
Absolutely.
So, break it down for me then, as far as like the ZvZ goes, because it doesn't look like anything's going to happen for a little while, because we're probably going to wait for Roach speed before these players really butt heads. Do you favor one of the players' positions more than another?
I mean, they're still pretty even on as far as workers are concerned. The Elazer just took the lead. Stephano has had the lead up until this point. So it's just an even game. It's anyone's game at this point. It's pretty much mirror builds. And we'll see advantages taken and them diverge as the engagements start to happen. We'll see who takes more of the aggressive side. It might have to be Elazer, seeing as Stephano is basically saying, come at me. I have the faster fourth now. So that indicates that Stephano is going to be looking to take the economic lead for the first time in the game. But Elazer just follows right away. So both players just confident in their later game, perhaps.
Showing a lot of respect to each other. Neither wants to try and press the issue against the other.
Absolutely. So Elazer, very prompt fourth upon seeing Stephano take his.
But Stephano's going to start moving out roaches that he's put together. The Overseer goes into the main to get a bit of scouting information. We might see him try to poke this third base, or this fourth base, excuse me. A lot of roaches moving out. His speed is closing in.
Yeah, Stephano kind of has to make something happen. Not really. He's trailing behind 5 workers, but both players are in a very healthy drone count. So I say he has to make something happen. It's more like he wants to make something happen. If he could cancel this base, it would be gigantic. And I believe actually, is Stephano's roach speed a little bit faster? It is. He got that lair a little bit faster. So if he could have sniped this, potentially he could have run away, but he doesn't necessarily know that.
Yeah, and I do agree with you, as that fourth base is so close to finishing, being able to get enough pressure on it to force a cancel or kill it would be huge.
Pretty healthy number of roaches, actually, but as the roaches arrive for Elazer, he just has to look to back away, and that's where he was distracted. The queen was getting picked off.
Yep, and his own fourth now is under attack. The Baneling comes over and blows up on a few of these lings. There was a drop overlord loaded up somewhere as well for Elazer that we might see find its way to a mineral line of the opponent.
Yeah, as Stephano techs into lurkers. This is a very strong tech choice in CvC right now. An answer to it could be to go into quicker Vipers if you scout this as Elazer, and it's very likely that he does with this Overlord drop. Otherwise, he will have to follow suit with his own Lurkers. One thing is for certain, without Lurkers, it's very, very difficult to engage into a Lurker-based or even just a Lurker-aided.
Drops 2 Banes, gets 4 drones. Overlord's still alive, going over towards the main now. Looks like he's going to be forced to unload before he reaches the mineral line.
He will indeed, and unable to control the first Baneling. Stephano's not even gonna bother microing, not because he's unaware of the Baneling, but rather because he knows that the Baneling won't kill any drones.
Yep, you need to. We have roaches spread out for both players, trying to get in position to harass these forts. The fourth location still has most of its health for Stephano. Elazer's was a little bit more beat up. I don't know if he's dropped a transfuse or 2 onto that one. But yeah, definitely big targets for both players.
So Stephano trailing a little bit behind in supply, and now we see the divergences that we were talking about. Stephano is about to get his +2 attack. Elazer going for the +2 Carapace. Somewhat surprisingly, that actually makes no difference in the Roach versus Roach engagements. But as the Lurkers and maybe Hydras get added on as the game progresses, oh, very nice move by Stephano actually, finding himself in the mineral line of Elazer.
Yeah, 5 drones picked off there. Gonna pull back as his third base gets put under some pressure. Dodging the Ravager Biles pretty damn smoothly as well.
Yes, very nice. However, Elazer has a lot of Ravagers. Stephano cannot afford to just fight with half his army like he was doing there for a second. That's a lot of damage output that he's negating from himself. And now Elazer might actually have enough to push in. The reinforcement advantage is going to be in favor of Stephano, of course.
Now, he got the Lurker Danny, but he needs to get those Hydras out and actually transform them to get the value that he's looking for from that. Contaminates even this hatchery to prevent it from being able to produce larvae.
Yes, and now the Ravagers are somewhat exposed for Elazer. Stephano very quickly is going to pounce on that opportunity and take a couple of them out. And this might just be enough to push Elazer back.
Yeah, and now we have the Lurkers coming into play. The Lurker Den is on the way. That really, that makes me uncomfortable. The 2 for now, but that Lurker Den's only halfway done for Elazer, so he's going to need a little bit more time before he can get those siege units up.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephano, in the meanwhile, will be looking to tech up to a Hive, and he has actually equalized and surpassed Elazer slightly in economy.
Yeah, I mean, the Lurkers are so insanely good versus a lot of these units that you're going to see with, you know, just the swarms of the Roaches and those Ravagers to an extent, but that makes it a very tough position to push into. He's only just got the 2 Lurkers. He hasn't invested in any more just yet.
But still, it's very difficult to engage into those Lurkers. Now, as far as breaking down this game and what has transpired, at one given point in time, Elazer went for the army advantage. That's why we saw him push into Stephano's third, whereas Stephano went for the tech advantage, and that's why we see Lurkers out. However, Stephano didn't take advantage of that window, and Elazer was unable to take advantage of his window, so now we're more or less equalized on both fronts. The only advantage that Stephano will hold is that he made the infestation pit, he made the Hive, and has now the potential to transition into either further upgrades or maybe some Vipers to deal with the Lurkers of Elazer.
Yeah, he's going to get Tunneling Claws for his Roaches, so he wants to open up the ability to use that burrow play in a big way. As we're also going to have the Lurker Drilling Claws.
Nasty.
I mean, Lurkers burrow instantly with that, right?
Oh, yeah, they do. It is
That's like faster than a Widow Mine with the upgrade.
Absolutely. That is a very powerful upgrade, actually, to have in ZvZ at this stage.
Yeah, being able to instantly burrow those Lurkers and get shots off is going to be a huge asset for the repositioning game. That will sure to be a large part of the later engagements. He's going to add additional Lurkers, get more Hydras, lots of Spine Crawlers being added to help hold down. And this Overlord's going to see the army moving towards the east side.
Yeah, I mean, if you could equate Lurkers to any Terran unit, it would have to be something like the tank, right? Imagine if you could have an upgrade for tanks to siege instantly. All of a sudden, you get any good position, you fight. You know, you can actually take fights, whereas otherwise the Lurkers can kind of get kited, they can get stalled, and that's not going to be the case once Stephano gets and reaches this point. Now Elazer pushing into a very fortified position with Lurkers of his own.
Yeah, and his Lurkers can reposition a little bit faster with that upgrade that we were talking about, but at the same time, the Roaches are going to make their way over towards this expansion on the east. That Overseer is there, so Burrow won't be too much of a factor. But Elazer pushing up on this third base. He's using the Lurkers to create space for the Ravagers to throw their Biles.
Yeah, and as a player, whenever a unit is no longer being controlled, like we saw the Overseer no longer following those roaches, for example, you have to look somewhere else because your opponent might be looking to make a move elsewhere. So Stephano and Elazer are both very aware of this. However, Elazer gaining a positional advantage. These lurkers could be moved forward, and they will.
Yeah, this is really hard to get out of your base now. Overseer tries to siege itself to grant that vision, but it gets sniped by the corrosive files, and now he cannot kill the lurkers
And
that
that
are
is such
at
a
the
big
third
issue.
base.
The reinforcements are here, Nate. Stephano had a tiny window where he could have
my
killed
God.
those lurkers before the reinforcements got there because he had enough units to deal with all the units of Elazer that were in position. However, he had no Overseer, and now he has to forfeit this position and just back away potentially.
Yeah, there's not really a whole lot he can do to hold this base. I mean, you need a bunch of biles to hit that, or you gotta get your army on top of all of those lurkers, which is usually a fool's game. So the Ravagers are here. They're blowing down a lot of these forces. Of course, those big boys don't have a lot of hit points.
Yeah.
The army's gonna close in, but he has to get onto the lurkers, and he's losing a lot trying to.
A lot indeed. However, the Hydras are going to do a good job and might be able to push this through. I actually think it was a huge mistake by Elazer to spend that much resources into making Ravagers at this stage because you need the shields, you need the meat shield for the lurkers. So the Roaches are actually a more effective meat shield than the Ravagers will ever be.
Yeah, that extra hit points is a big deal.
Yeah, and that's what Stephano pounced on, right? He saw Ravagers. He's like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and attack into a position that, with Roaches, without spending as much money, would be, in my opinion, harder to break. So goes for the Ravager, tries to be a little bit too aggressive, perhaps Elazer.
But did he lose too much? Is Stephano still, is this still an okay position to work with based on the supply that we're looking at?
It's difficult, but Stephano has lurkers. So
Elazer
if
does have a lot
Stephano
of
can-
roaches.
Yeah, if Stephano can stabilize, if he can lock down positions, much like you would do with siege tanks, right? If he can say, okay, you don't come in here, if he maxes out, it could become a game of cost efficiency. That's what Stephano has to be aiming for. I think that he has to be starting to look at units like Vipers, just so that he can start whittling down these attacks before they actually start engaging into his army. Those lurkers are so very expensive on both ends. So if you can get some Vipers out, I think that would be ideal for Stephano right now.
Yeah, good pickoff on Elazer's Overseer.
It's actually Elazer that has the Vipers. And this is huge because this will enable Elazer to break Stephano by either pulling the lurkers or using Blinding Cloud, depending on, you know, the clumps that he sees or how isolated they are.
The Hydra harassed comes by. That one lurker does get picked off. And these bad boys are trying to, okay, not running as far away as they could have here on the creep. Does grab a lurker on the way out.
Yeah. That's good, right? It's making that's a bad trade, obviously. Five Hydras for a lurker, if you want to look at it that way. But in reality, those 5 Hydras are gonna die no matter what. So it's
They also, yeah, they pulled the army back too, so it bought him a little bit of time because Elazer wants to move in. And look at this, he's gonna cut this base off.
Beautiful.
And cut off from the rest of the world. And now the Overlords are gonna die too. Uses the Abduct, pulls in the lurkers. Great plays.
Yeah, Stephano's gonna have to forfeit this position. However, Stephano goes for a counterattack, and the Vipers are nearly out of energy. Oh, this is actually huge by Stephano. My God, this was fantastic. And Elazer is now attacking into 3 lurkers. This could actually be the way back for Stephano as he repositions as Elazer repositions his own lurkers.
He's trying to focus down the Overseer so close to getting all of them. He's not going to be able to,
man,
though.
so close.
He's got a bunch of roaches still inside the main and the third base.
Yeah, that could have been the stop to the attack of Elazer. Instead, Elazer is going to siege onto the natural, and this might just be the end of it.
Yeah, getting rid of these lurkers inside of his base is going to be so difficult now. 6 of them. GG. Elazer takes game number 1.
And I do wonder if Stephano would have had enough without focus firing the Overseers. Did you notice how many he killed there?
No. He killed like 1 or 2 of them, and there was one left like barely any health.
Yeah,
He only had 1 lurker left by the time that those Hydras died. So if he had gotten the Overseer, it would have been 1 lurker trying to kill everything there.
Yeah.
But I guess with the damage that they have, like maybe it would have been enough with his
Yeah, he
reinforcements.
must have miscalculated that he could kill both Overseers and just survive, or maybe he thought he was gonna do, you know, a lot of damage with his roaches on the other side of the map. So if he just survives, that's enough, perhaps. Either way, he was in a tough position. Was a good game. I like the Vipers.
Yeah, the Viper play really good. I loved seeing Stephano go for the fast drill. I don't know what the name of the upgrade is. I say drilling claws on the lurkers. I love seeing that. As you put it, it's like a tank sieging instantly, and
It's great.
lurkers are.
Both players actually ended up getting it.
As a non-Zerg, it's fun to see a unit that breaks up that mass roach ravager dynamic that we used to have as well.
And Stephano was oftentimes actually ahead as far as tech is concerned, but he never got to use his tech aggressively. It was always Elazer on the offensive, identifying that he had the army advantage also for most of the game, right? So playing accordingly, both of these players are just so good, right? Elazer says, I have more army than you, I'm going to be on your face.
Yeah, and it's a really good game to put himself up 1-0 now. The next map is going to be Neon Violet Square. Any thoughts on ZvZ for this one, Cats?
Nothing in particular. CVC will be ZvZ. I mean, you could go Muta perhaps, more so than on other maps, just because you have that access to the gas and not so many resources in the back. But a lot of the time, these players, and I think seeing as how Game 1 played out, we are likely to see the outer base taken rather than the pocket one. So I think it's likely for them to just, you know, do the same thing.
Do the same thing? Okay.
It's likely.
Play very straight up. Both players did. I mean, they were both very good at it. Elazer was able to muscle out, but Stephano certainly had his opportunities to make it work. As we have the lobby set up, both players seem to be ready to go. So we'll be getting into this next one shortly. You're watching the World Championship Series, Europe Challenger. Hope you've all been having a nice day. There's been a good amount of StarCraft to watch lately. We had GSL on Friday. We had TESPA yesterday. We got WCS today. And then I'm sure there's
millions of StarCraft.
Yeah, it doesn't really stop.
It does not stop.
No.
Except for tomorrow, I think we're empty tomorrow.
Shh. I heard him Canning will be streaming. It's okay.
Oh, yes.
It's okay.
Yes. We had the best of 69 as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was last night. That was what, Parting versus Top.
Oh yeah.
I think he won. What was it, 35-12? Sorry for the spoiler. If you're gonna watch all 69 games, I'm sorry for ruining it for you guys.
I was about to watch all 69.
All right, we're loaded into game number 2. In the top left, we have the blue Zerg player leading 1-0. He is Elazer.
And in the bottom right-hand side, it is Stephano.
Oh. He needs to be introed like that every game.
Oh.
If, you know what? If he gets to Austin and we've got him on the stage there,
we can get a choir.
My boring life as a desk host for the WCS events, I'll give him that intro because I don't get to do the in-game intros at the tournaments anymore. I'll go for the oh. The oh.
Like angels.
Yeah. I'll bring a whole choir too. Don't you worry.
Good.
So
we have both players
Hatch first. I mean,
first.
Yeah, are we surprised? Stephano would be like one of the guys to try and do something weird here. Like, it wouldn't have surprised me. And if this was like Scarlet or someone, then it would have been like, you know.
Yeah, and here's the first divergence, actually. It's going to be Stephano taking the gas, whereas Elazer perhaps looking to go gasless, Nate.
Ooh.
Oh, maybe even looking to go for a 3-hatch before pool?
He's got his pool.
Oh, he's got his pool, just an awkward.
But just a very greedy play in general, yeah, and he's going to take the safe base that you were talking about.
Yeah, when you go gasless,
does this have to go into something like mutas then?
I would like to see mutas, but when you go gasless, oftentimes the pairing up is with roaches, and that is just simply because of how the transitions work out. When you're gasless, you're conceding map control to your opponent who will have link speed, for example. And if you're going to get a very late link speed and try to fight for the map control with Zerglings, it's kind of weird and efficient late, right? So a lot of the time what people do is they cut down on the links, they secure themselves into those 3 bases and go for the Roach Warren because it also helps wall off.
Yeah, 2 evolution chambers, so the Roach Warren, and use the queens to help block the rest of it.
Absolutely. So I do like advantages of gases versus none, of course. We talked about some of the advantages of the gas in that it will grant you map control, and that can translate into all sorts of things, like an economic advantage later on, perhaps, or just more control over what the game is going to look like. It's also, when you go gasless, you're avoiding trading actions to a good extent, but the main advantage is an early economic lead. And we should see that happen for Elazer as the game progresses here. And the reason for that is simply that if you're not mining gas with 3 workers plus the worker that made the gas plus the cost of the gas, that's 4.5 workers that you have on minerals. And early on, that's a large portion of your economy, a high percentage of it.
Yep. And also interesting to notice, he realizes that Stephano's taking, that Elazer's taking that inside base. Stephano, you talk about the 3rd base difference. Just more mineral patches on this one. So
absolutely.
That'll be a nice thing to hold on to.
Nice indeed.
Very nice. We have the extractors finally being added for Elazer. Stephano's just getting a Baneling Nest. There's the Roach Swarm. There's the Evo Chambers. Oh, okay. Do all Zergs wall like this on this map? This is,
I
this
don't,
shows
but
my
I
lack.
think I will.
This
I
shows
mean,
my
this
lack
looks
of
great.
creativity. Is
Yeah.
you don't need to wall off, because you always, it's like, oh yeah, wall off this and then this, but you don't need to. This apparently just works.
It looks better.
My mind has just been blown. I never thought about approaching it like that.
I don't watch enough games to actually see if this is the norm, but this is definitely what I would do from here on.
Yeah, I like it. I like what I see.
I love it.
I'm gonna stop losing games to Ling Run buys. This is amazing.
Yeah. Now Stephano will scout what's going on, so we'll see what his tech of choice is. He instantly starts a lair upon recognizing that his opponent has no ability to move out, but this is a late recognition to be made. Now he is going for roaches himself, or at least a roach warren, perhaps just for safety. I wouldn't be surprised to see Stephano go for the mutas. Also notice Stephano has map control, and in having map control, he doesn't put the roach warren at the front like Elazer does, right?
Yeah.
You don't need those chokes. You don't need to choke yourself out. Later in the game, roach versus roach, for example, this choke can actually be detrimental in that your roaches will have to come out of that little choke, right, of where the queen is right now. And that means if you get somewhat of an arc or surface area covering that choke, it's very difficult to defend or to come out.
So that back base has one of the one of the extractors taken. Roaches are coming out. We have that +1 range that we were discussing. No lair yet for Elazer, but Stephano's lair is now done. So is he just going to go straight into roach speed, play with better upgrades, or is he going to do something else a little bit cheeky?
I would love to see mutas. He's actually going for a very fast or a very slow overlord speed, which I'm not sure what the purpose of it is. But it is Stephano, so he might surprise us all. I mean, now he sees the roaches, he sees what's going on. I don't know that and he instantly cancels, actually, the overlord speed. I love it. Oh, no, he didn't. He restarted it? Or he restarted it?
No, he canceled it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thought I saw it in production again for a second there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I mean, he's got to realize so many units are coming across the map. It's a huge Roach Ling attack with Ravagers mixed in, and it's nothing but Zerglings on the production tab for Elazer.
Yes, Zerglings are going to be the best way to reinforce an attack like this. Again, given that they are the fastest units across the map, they will have the most impact quickest.
And the timing here is perfect because his +1 range is done, and it's not yet ready for Stephano. He's just a few moments away from having that upgrade, but it's such a huge difference.
It's a huge difference, like you pointed out, Nate. And Stephano, if he holds, it will be thanks to this spine. If it finishes, he needs to get on top of those Ravagers if he's gonna push this back, but it's not looking likely at this point.
Yeah, deny some of the larva from popping here too. And Elazer just getting a lot of work here done against Stephano, pushing through that lair. He never got to make any use of it.
Yeah, this is kind of a trademark of Elazer as well. He really likes this type of timing attack where he goes in on your face with a low or semi-low drone count, and he makes stuff happen. And I mean, Stephano really didn't see it coming, right? Evidence of that was the fact that he was getting the overlord speed. Yeah. Like he wanted to know what Elazer was doing. That he wasn't sure.
Yeah, and by the time he found out what was going on, when you saw that was the panic, it's like, oh, cancel that.
Cancel, spine, a little bit too late.
Gonna get a refund on that lair? No.
They were well-positioned spines as well. He didn't place them at the front where they would be taken out right away. He placed them at the back. He tried to buy as much time as possible in that regard, but it wasn't enough, and Elazer takes a convincing 2-0.
Yep, so that means Elazer, he's out of the group. He will be playing in the playoff bracket on May 12th. And Stephano is going to go down for a rematch against Hastam. That's going to be the final match of this group. Pretty
mountain to climb.
Yes.
The Vlardigan giant. That's Hastam.
Vlardigan?
The Vlardigan. That's where he's from. Vlad, well, unless I'm mispronouncing.
Is that where he's from? In the Netherlands? Okay.
Yeah. That's one of his nicknames.
I only know 3 cities. I like 4. I know 4 cities in the Netherlands.
Many nicknames has Hastam. One of them is just Vlardigan Giant. He is extremely tall, for those of you who haven't seen him.
He's like average height for Dutch people, but okay, yeah.
He's probably a little bit taller than the average, but yeah, Dutch people are the tallest in the world.
Yeah. Well, here's that next match coming up. It will be Hastam versus Stephano. They had a great series to kick this group off, and that'll be the last one for the WCS Europe Challenger. We'll see you guys after a break with that last match.